All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ask Me Anything session for the month of, I would say, February, right? Um, and thank you again for taking time to join us today. My name is Mohit. I'm a principal developer advocate here at Salesforce. And I'm excited about today's session, Supercharge Agentforce with MCP and agent to agent protocol. We have some amazing panelists, but I just want to remind everyone that this show is for all of you, right? So this is your time. Get in all your questions, whether you are streaming us through LinkedIn or YouTube. You have chat panel there. Make use of it. We have a lot of brain power here. I'll slowly introduce you to our audience here, our panelists here, and make sure that you get all your pressing questions. And we also have amazing marketing team collecting all the questions for us. With that out of our way, let's actually do some housekeeping before we kind of move on to our show here. Let's bring the slides for today. Um, let's talk first about the slide forward looking statement, right? So please make sure that you make all of your purchasing decisions based on the features that are generally available in the product today. And next, I want to remind everyone about our Salesforce developers global community. So we have a community of developers here, and we all collaborate through this amazing Salesforce developer global community. Make use of it. If you haven't joined, please join us. And then finally, today's expert. I just want to remind Pragya, are you there? Can we have your cameras on, and let us know if you're having any technical issues. But we have Mo, so let's actually get to their introductions, and then we will move on to the episode. So with that out of our way, Mo, how about let's get to know you.
Yeah, thanks for having us today. Really happy to be here. My name is Mo. I'm a product director on the Agentforce team, specifically on Agentforce Interop. And yeah, happy to walk you guys through what we're doing with regards to MCP, how we are planning on really turning Agentforce agents into these super connected agents that can work across agents both from inside Salesforce and outside Salesforce. And yeah, excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. And I think Pragya might be having some technical issues, so we'll wait for her as she comes across. But we will keep moving. Now, just for everyone to be on the similar page, right? We have a little bit of content introducing you to MCP concepts if you're not familiar, and talk a bit about what we are actually building for Agentforce, so that you can make our Agentforce interoperable with both agent to agent protocol and MCP. With that, Mo, I would like to hand over to you, so you can pretty much walk us through some of the concepts that our developers needs to be familiar today.
For sure. Yeah. So I guess let's start with this very complex slide. I guess that's the best way to begin. But the idea is actually pretty simple underneath this. So what we see here is the goal for the Agentforce interoperability team as a whole, and the idea is that how do we make an enterprise grade connectivity between Agentforce and all the different sources that are out there that our developers are interested in connecting into their agents. And so how we do that is through a few different important components, one of which is the MCP protocol, that is the main topic of this conversation today. And second one is A2A, which is a separate protocol, also related. And we do all of that through this thing called the Agentforce Gateway, which is our discovery and governance layer that allows the admins and the developers to fully control what goes between these connections. And so if you think about it, with MCP and A2A, now you are going to be able to connect your Agentforce agents to all kinds of different sources of data and tools that are available out there. In this screen, we can see examples of some third-party MCP servers to Agentforce, as well as some of our partners like Google and PayPal, who are partnering with us to make some trusted set of MCP connections available for customers to essentially out of the box get access to. You can also use Heroku and MuleSoft to connect to data sources and APIs that you're already familiar with, but wrapping them around with an MCP server and then connecting them into your Agentforce agents. And for those that are not that familiar with MCP and what it is, MCP is essentially a protocol that was created a while back by Anthropic, and the idea is pretty simple. You define this protocol where it allows you to connect an MCP client to an MCP server, and the server provides a set of tools, resources, and prompts. And with natural language through the LLM, you can basically use any of these tools to either retrieve data or get actions done on the MCP server side. And so this basically gives your agents superpowers, right? Like you can imagine a world where there's so many things that you can do with these connectivity. So before MCP, without MCP, you would have had to do this manually, right? Like there's going to be, tens of API connectivities that you had to do. You had to do custom code. You had to do authentication manually. But with MCP protocol, all of that becomes really easy and quick, and is standardized across the board. And so we also added another layer on top of this, as I said, the Agentforce governance or gateway that essentially makes it super easy to adopt and govern set of policies on top of your MCP connectivity. Things like making sure that you don't go over. You have rate limits on the calls that are being made between your MCP client and server. We also added some security measures like anti-rug pulls. As you all may be aware of, essentially MCPs can easily be prompt injected. And so how do we avoid that? We are giving all of this power and control to the admins so that if the underlying MCP connectivity has changed after the registration has gone through, we'll notify you. We'll make sure that that connectivity does not necessarily get into your actual production agents and whatnot. And yeah, so we also built a layer of observability for this product, which allows us to capture a bunch of different logs, store them in session trace data model, which is a GA product already, and make all of that available, which feeds into the broader observability set of product category that Agentforce has that comes with all kinds of analytics metrics and health monitoring and whatnot. Yeah, so let me see. So let me actually quickly walk you guys through how this UI works. I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. So in order to connect an MCP server to your agents, the way to do that is you go to Agentforce registry in setup, and you click on adding or registering an MCP server. Here, you'll fill out the details of the authentication and the MCP URL that you want to connect. And once you do that, we pull in all the available tools that are available for that MCP server. And once you register that, on the other end, in the agent builder side, developers can access all of those as individual actions. So now you can imagine you had, let's say, 10 different tools that were added on a registration. Each of those tools become an invocable action in your agent builder experience, so you can use them in your agents. I'll pass it on to Pragya to talk a little bit about A2A as well.
Yes, thanks, Mo. So, hey, everybody. My name's Pragya, and I'm working on the same team on interoperability with Mo, and I'll talk to you about agent-to-agent communication. As Mo was already talking about, there are lots of paradigms of how we communicate with our agents, and while MCP is a great way to do all the tools and the calling that we do, but we are realistically entering a multi-agent world, where enterprises not just have agents built on one stack, but agents built across the systems. And so multiple unique frameworks with deep integration points are needed. And we have these black box agents which you don't know enough about, and those exist beyond boundaries. And in order to do that, you need to think about collaborating with these agents beyond just the idea of agents as a tool that you just reach out and they get a response back. But it's actually a lot more dynamic than that. It is unstructured communication, just the way that you would have with humans, and you interact with agents in a similar way. So how do we solve for this challenge of multiple siloed black box agents and still solve for the enterprise workflows? And so that's something that we're working on with agent to agent communication. Next slide, please. And so A2A is a new protocol that is emerging, and we are on the seat of that open source protocol. Salesforce contributed actively towards the building of that protocol and donated that. And that protocol is specifically designed to handle the dynamic nature of communication. So not just a simple synchronous, I go to this agent and get the response back, but actually how can I have more long running sessions, more asynchronous, unstructured communication that is not defined in the space of just certain parameters, certain ways, certain API definitions, or a REST call. And then how can I actually do that? So it's an open protocol that allows for that kind of dynamic communication. The other thing that it does is that the protocol supports agent discovery. So, in order for you to know multiple agents that exist within an environment, the protocol supports agent cards, and it is built with enterprise use in mind. That really is trying to communicate that we are a secure and governed experience, and so we are built on the A2A protocol. It supports a variety of standards including HTTP and JSON RPC, but of course the popular one being here HTTP JSON. Yeah, next slide please. As I was talking to you, we are one of the founding members of the A2A protocol. So Salesforce, along with the other members like Google, Microsoft, SAP, AWS, was on the founding seat before it was donated. And so we have a very deep integration and understanding of the protocols and its working. So going a little deeper into how does A2A really work. So A2A is really built under like I was saying, it is agent to agent communication, but just the way that when you interact with humans, there's this idea of, hey, who are you and what can you do? And that idea is actually represented through the agent card. The agent card is an endpoint which you can hit, and you get absolute understanding of, hey, what does this agent really do? What are its capabilities? What are its skills? How do I communicate with this agent? What kind of protocols does it support? What kind of UI rendering does it support? The different modalities it support. So this is the best way to actually understand the agent before even invoking. So it is something that you do at the registration of an agent. It's more of a design time construct, but it's always leveraged even at the runtime construct to understand discover agents. And then going a little further, it also helps with the orchestrated of multiple agents together. So the agent card really supports that. The next core component of A2A is really the handshake, of how that secure handshake happens. So between the two agents, the communication has to be done through OAuth 2.0. That is the standardized way to do the communication. And so that enables that there is security built in before communication. And then, as I was talking to you about earlier, is that the communication between agents is quite complex. It's not just a simple tool call. There is a negotiation that can happen between agents in terms of the tasks they can or cannot do. There can be negotiation in terms of the UI that needs to be rendered. There is negotiation in terms of the tools and the resources that can be shared, as well as the memory that is shared. And so the protocol enables for that kind of complex collaboration in multi-agent workflows. And there is, as Mo has already mentioned, this product always within Salesforce comes in with built-in observability and security. So our enterprise grade security and observability is already built on top of that, so that you can understand how different agent interactions happen, and then you're also able to audit all of those interactions and logs. Um, so, how is Salesforce thinking about A2A? So, Salesforce is going into a pilot mode where we are enabling the communication with agent to agent communication. And this is going to be regardless of whether there's a orchestrator that is communicating in Salesforce with multiple different properties, like other agents, like a black box agent of a workday agent or a box agent. We enable that direction, and we also enable it the other way around, where there are orchestrators existing outside of Salesforce. For example, in this use case, a workday orchestrator, which is basically using A2A to remotely talk to an Agentforce agent. This is really to hone in the idea that we're absolutely open and interoperable. There are no additional certain properties that we support or don't support. We're absolutely open in collaborating with multiple agents built on standardized stacks that use A2A. Uh, this not just allows for an open communication for multiple workflows to exist, but it also allows for composability. Because the standard of communication is A to A, you can very well remove the agent that you have set up on the right hand side or the left hand side to then have another agent added based on however you think is fit for your workflow. So the collaboration is both bidirectional within Agentforce using A to A as standard. Next, please. Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit deeply about how Agentforce is adapting the Open A2A protocol with enterprise security in mind. So while the transport layer today is just, the protocol supports JSON, RPC, gRPC, and REST. We are starting with just the HTTP JSON and a REST mode only. So the communication is going to be limited to that. The discovery of agents, like I was mentioning, happens through agent cards, just as a business card to understand, hey, you know what, how do I actually get this? In on the Salesforce side, what we're doing is that you can only access any of the Agentforce agent cards or any of the agents stood up on the Salesforce stack through authentication. So those are implemented through the extended agent cards, which require a OAuth jot to be able to then communicate with us. Authentication, like I said, we're really doubling down on the OAuth 2.0, because that is the standard across multiple different environments, and that is what we're supporting. The identity is, we are ensuring that there is login aspects available, so user auth is already in place, so that authentication not just happens at the system level between two systems, like for example a workday system and a Salesforce system, but authentication also happens at the user level, and identities are mapped and passed across both of these systems so that agents can work on behalf of those. And we have native data masking and governance built into a lot of payloads that move from Agentforce or agents built on Salesforce to another third party agent. And the current modality that we support is going to be text only to begin with, and then we're going to expand further on that. um, Next slide, please. Yeah, I think that's it from my side. Back to you, Mohit.
Yeah, thank you, Pragya, and also Mo for walking us through this. Now it's your time to get in all your questions. So again, I want to remind everyone, please get in your questions. Whether you have questions about the MCP support for Agentforce, or the gateway that we are building, or the A2A protocols and how it's going to work with Agentforce. Just please bring in all your questions, because we have product management here. With that, let's actually take our first question here. So the first question is coming from Matthew. Matthew. So Matthew has a question, and I think this more you can answer it. When will Agentforce have go-to-market support for MCP client connecting to remote HTTP server? I think everybody wants to know, when is this coming out? You showed us the prototype. Everybody is
Yeah,
like, when is this actually gonna land?
for sure. So currently we have a closed beta out there for MCP client.
Uh-huh.
And at the output of this beta is essentially informing how we're going to GA the product. The current timeline we are aiming for is going to be TDX this April. So by April, we should have a GA product out there for you guys to connect with.
Perfect, perfect, awesome. The next question is coming from Sally. Sally, again, thank you so much for joining all of our Ask Me Anything sessions, I must say. Um, so here's the question. So if we have an MCP server we want to connect to,
Mhm.
is it a must so that it goes to the MuleSoft, or is there a way to directly do this without MuleSoft? I just want an answer here, confirmation
Yeah.
answer. Yeah.
A very good question. No, you don't have to go through MuleSoft. It's optional. It's essentially there for customers who are already using MuleSoft. You
Mhm.
can directly use Agentforce Registry UI, the one that I just showed in the presentation earlier, to
Mhm.
connect any third-party MCP server that's on the latest MCP protocol standards. Things like OAuth 2.0, HTTPS streamable, and whatnot.
Awesome, awesome. I think this is question for you, Pragya. This is coming from Matthew Hong. Thank you, Matthew, for your time. So it seems like the connection between Agentforce agents and outside servers or sources. Will there be functionality to connect Agentforce agents to other Agentforce agents as well?
Yeah. Actually, that is an open pilot. A pilot that is already running today.
Uh-huh.
Where you can actually have multiple agents communicating within an organization in Agentforce, and those agents can collaborate and be orchestrated against. So there is only a single agent that your customer is interacting with. It's a pilot that's already running right now, and happy to share more details after this call. But that is already there in place.
Awesome, awesome. Let's talk about you know talk about some technicalities of MCP. So there is a question from Manu: is it technically mandatory to integrate with an MCP server, or organizations can use securely connected without an MCP server? Like, how do you envision these integration patterns between Agentforce and the other
Mhm.
systems? Do you recommend to go through them this MCP layer, or if they have APIs today, can they simply implement them within the Agentforce actions?
Yeah, both ways works. There are certain advantages that comes with MCP,
Uh-huh.
and so it's essentially we do support both of those at Agentforce, and so it's up to the developer to figure out what works best for their use cases. Some of the advantages of using an MCP protocol connections, like using the MCP server, is that it basically naturally comes with a better reasoning and understanding of the LLM interacting with those MCP tools. And so the right approach here should be to have those, let's say, third-party APIs wrapped by the MCP server, and then making those available as tools to the MCP client.
Got it. Got it. So the next question is coming from Philippe. Philippe, thanks for your question. Is there a list of external services that are A2A enabled with Salesforce is targeting for initial testing? This is for you, Pragya. Is there a services that we are targeting at this point?
Yeah. So like I said, I think A2A as a protocol, if the A2A server or client implements that, so we will enable the two-way communication. So there is no specific one. For example, a Gemini agent or a Bedrock agent, if those agents already, or even an homegrown agent that exists on a customer's org, if that agent is compliant with the A2A protocol, there is no limitation on any of that being enabled. So to answer your question, there are no specific services. We're open. Yeah.
And this is the same question that we had for more. Like, when are you planning for at least pilot phase, or GA for this
Yeah.
agent force, agent to
So we
agent?
are actually, yeah, the A2A communication, we are actually breaking that up into into two different modes,
Uh-huh.
where we will agent force being able to call external agents is something that we're targeting somewhere around the summer timeframe, and then sales, any customer actually calling agent force agents, that is actually going to go pilot very soon. So pilot somewhere around in the couple of weeks. So we should be able to start doing that right away.
Perfect, perfect. Awesome. So let's talk about a question that is coming up here around credit consumption. So currently, actions in Agentforce consume flex credits while you're calling Apex and flows. So using external MCPs and their actions, will it be part of the same consumption model for flex credit, or is there any other pricing model that you're aware of?
Great question. It basically works as just like any other actions that are invoked. That's what makes this really smooth and easy to understand. So once you have your MCP tools connected, they show up as actions, and so invoking those works just like any other action.
Got it. Got it. Let's talk about some observability questions that we are getting from Nagesh. So, Nagesh, thanks for your question. How to track observability for network round trips? Let's say we are integrating with, multiple of these MCP servers or APIs. Is there observability built into this whole thing that you guys are building?
Yeah, I can answer that for MCP. Essentially, as part of our GA roadmap, one of the things that we're doing is that any invocations of MCP tools emits a certain set of logs that include details around, what MCP server it was that was used, what tools were used, what policies applied to it, what failures it had, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of that session log gets stored in session trace data model. As part of that, essentially, that kind of works very well into our existing observability products that helps you with analytics and health monitoring and whatnot.
Awesome, awesome. So there is a question that is coming from LinkedIn. I just want to take it and answer. I don't think this is much related to this conversation, but I think it's worth answering. So is it possible to host a custom MCP server in Salesforce? I just want to call out that that's a separate product offering itself. We definitely have that capability today where you can take a Salesforce resource and create a MCP server. I would request you to check out our Salesforce Developers YouTube channel, because we did ask me anything specifically on this topic with the other teams that are building. Mo, you want to add
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, I want to add something because this is an interesting point of view. So I'm hearing this as part of our beta launch from a lot of customers where, this interoperability is kind of goes both ways, right? So
Sure.
customers have Agentforce agents, they have all these external tools they want to bring in. And it
Mhm.
also works the other way. So they have these amazing Agentforce agents with lots of capabilities built into their topics, and they want to expose it as an MCP server to the external
Mhm.
board. And so, because of that, we are actually extending our roadmap to include a set of capabilities that allows customers to create custom MCP servers that exposes a specific Agentforce agent
Oh,
as a
wow.
tool. And so that allows customers to essentially offload a lot of the orchestration and the reasoning from a third-party agent into Agentforce agent and have those complex tasks completed using all of the Agentforce agent capabilities that comes natively, and then have the agents respond back. This is definitely a new paradigm, a new way people are thinking about using MCPs. But yeah, we are hearing this feedback. I think the person who asked this has probably had this in mind. So I thought maybe commenting it out. So since people are
Sure.
interested.
Sure. Awesome. Uh, Awesome. So let's talk about Agent Exchange. There's a question from Matthew from LinkedIn. So for a customer to use a remote MCP HTTP server, what is required? Do server need to be certified to be listed on Agent Exchange? Can customers connect any MCP server? Like what? I think this is more of, what are the security guidelines, and what will be the guidelines for them to create their own MCP offering and offered through our Agent Exchange.
Got it. So Agent Exchange is run by a sister team to us.
Oh, okay.
I think the right way to do this is post it on the community center, developer center, and then we'll get back to you on that one.
Awesome, awesome. So, we'll make sure we get back to you on that, because, as Mo said, we have another team which caters to this Agent Exchange. Uh,
Maybe I can also comment a little bit on what it is and how different it is, so people understand this better. So the
sure.
concept of agent exchange is that now that we have the platform that supports Agentforce registry and connectivity with these MCPs,
Uh-huh.
how do we give customers a way to discover higher premium kind of vetted existing MCP connections through this program called Agent Exchange? And so the idea is that when you go to create an MCP connection in Agentforce registry, there's going to be a secondary registration path where you can say, pick from Agent Exchange. And so my sister team, who's run by Mark, they are essentially running a program to work with a lot of partners to create a set of very useful, suitable MCP servers and offer them out of the box. So essentially, to join that program, I want to make sure that Mark is able to respond to that question, but that's the idea there.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much for taking time to add those details in. There is a question here. I think this is for you, Pragya, coming from one of our YouTube viewers. Uh, Please showcase the steps to implement A2A. Now, I don't think we have time to showcase all the steps, but I was wondering, is there any plan for us to like collaborate and sort of produce something like this for all these learners who might be very new to protocol itself? Or
Yeah,
any resources
absolutely.
that you have found as a product manager very useful for you to look at?
Yeah, I think the documentation that is there on the just the A2A protocol, the open source documentation is quite good, but I
Hmm.
can understand the challenges that come with it because it's very hard to know exactly what you want to implement and then how does certain aspects of it work. So happy to demo all of that, and happy to actually walk through what does it mean to see an agent card, what does it mean to actually become an A2A client, or a server, and how to have that stood up. So I think we can, Mohit, maybe open a suggestion for us to maybe take this up later.
Yeah.
But obviously, right now I don't have the bandwidth to go through that. But largely, the idea here would be that either it's sort of a client and server architecture, very similar to a REST. So either having an A2A client or a A2A server setup, which allows for that two-way communication.
Awesome. Awesome. And another question that is coming out is, what's the benefit of calling an external service from an agent action as an MCP tool versus uh, just an open API call out, like using the open API standards?
Yep.
What services do MCP client offer above what is already offered by the API? I think a lot of us are trying to understand, like, MCP, APIs, right? Like these two things are already, they already have APIs. What is it that one extra thing that MCP offers is what I think people are trying to figure it out here.
Yep. Well, that's a very fair question. So, as I said, just the MCP protocol itself, it comes with a bunch of different benefits. Some of them are things like we allow you to, as an admin, obviously not the audience of this call, but as an admin, you get the power to implement certain policies like rate limits on top of your MCP servers. And also the MCP tools with their descriptions, they feed into the LLM when it's trying to figure out what's the right tool to use here, what's the right best solution to basically get a job done
Uh-huh.
when an interaction is happening. So MCP server, MCP client is going to build natively for an LLM to understand and interact with. Whereas APIs are kind of like the old school, it might be easier to set them up because you are already familiar with them. But kind of moving forward, MCP server is going to be the easier kind of lower hanging fruit to connect things because you don't have to be writing any custom codes or anything. You just basically have an MCP server, you authenticate it, and then you have access to it.
Yeah, and just to add to this, right? So MCP is one of the hard things to actually understand for developers. I have to admit that, because unless you actually play with it and build something with it, it's one of those hard things to actually explain, right? I mean, I know, in the slides we show, hey, it's an open standard. You connect to this, AI. This is the standard to connect to the AI, but I recommend developers to actually go build something out, build an MCP server, build an MCP client. Then only you will understand. At high level, as Mo said, right, the idea is if you had APIs, right, if you had to build all these APIs, you will build everything in different way, right? And large language models will not understand those APIs because they're very different, right? You have the metadata, but you don't describe what that metadata is. And MCP kind of bridges that gap. It creates a standard framework, so you are not doing all these point to point API integrations. You just talk to MCP, and MCP takes care of talking to API.
Yeah.
So I recommend developers to actually go try build some of these MCPs themselves, or use
Yeah.
MCPs. Like if you are using any agentic IDEs like Agentforce Vibes, or even third party tools like Cursors, make sure that you install an MCP and see that happen. It's able to understand the natural language and being able to like connect and find the right tool. I think that's the value add there.
Yeah. Maybe one more thing that I could quickly think of is with MCPs, once you do that integration once, your MCP server can add a tool tomorrow, and then your agent has access to it immediately. So
Yes.
you don't have to go through another round of integration and custom work to just get it connected. The MCP server might add many new tools and capabilities, and all of that quickly becomes available to an agent. And you can just, as an admin, you can have the control to pick and choose which ones you want to enable.
Perfect, perfect. This is a question around security, and very interesting question coming from Shrikant. Shrikant, thank you for your question. When one agent invokes another whose security context is different, how does all these security permissions and agent permissioning is taken care of? I want to go back to both of you because I think this is an important thing that our customers are actually looking for, is like what happens to the data security when all these things are happening. Who is controlling all that permissions of who should get access? So first we'll start with you, Mo.
Yeah. So for MCP, we are giving all the powers to the admins and
Mhm.
also creating a set of guardrails to protect them for things that could have potentially been missed. So just as a few examples, when you're connecting an MCP server to your Agentforce through MCP client, there could be malicious prompts injected into the tool's description that could potentially be dangerous for your Agentforce deployment. And so how we take care of that is we have this trust layer integration that's built into Agentforce and MCP connections, where if we detect anything that's malicious, we will warn it. And if we think that this is actually risky for your business, we blocked the MCP registration at that point, and let the admin know why that's the case. And ultimately, admins have the choice to sometimes make calls and say, this is expected, I want to continue. But for anything that kind of goes into the high profile risk, we block that registration on point, and then help the admins understand it. Another kind of like security potential issue with MCPs is that you do this MCP connection, you have your agent out there using the MCP tools connected to it. And then a rug pull happens, meaning the MCP server updates itself, changes the tools descriptions and what they're supposed to do,
Mhm.
and essentially puts your agent out there in danger. How we take care of this is that at the beginning of every session, we do confirm the description that we have of the MCP registration actually matches what it was. And if anything has changed, at the invocation time, again, we confirm that again. And if anything has changed, we block that action from being used. And again, notifying the admins, helping them go through a re-registration process. And if any risks are detected, they will be able to handle that. So those are two main ways. There's a few other security aspects of the registration flow that we detect, and like invisible text and whatnot. But those were some of the key security holes of MCP in general that we were able to address.
Awesome, awesome. And Pragya, on A2A, how are we ensuring that?
Yeah. So on the agent and agent to agent communication, very similar to what Mo was saying, there's a trust layer that is already built in into the platform which we leverage. But also we think of the agent identity and the user identity as separate. So having an agent level and privileges which allow an agent to do certain things versus what the end user can do. So we're separating out the security in that way. And then also another layer of security that we add is that we have server level communication and security and trust built in to say that, hey, you know what, I trust these two systems, but that's not enough. For agent to communicate, it's not just that systems are trusted, but users also need to trust and log into those different applications. So we build user level authentication inside our agent to agent communication, which allows for system level as well as user level authentication to then be combined together. And then at the agent level within Salesforce, like I was talking about, there's agent identity and user identity. So apart from the user access, there's also what the agent cannot or cannot do, and that's separated out. And you can use our platform's trust layer to manipulate and confirm that. And all of this is very manageable and editable by the admin. So the admin has the full power to ensure security and to govern across of this through different policies and through different systems put in place. So we have that from an admin point of view, but also internally, these are the enforcements that we're doing, and also the extensibility we're providing so that our customers can edit those.
Awesome, awesome. I'm pretty sure admins on the call will breathe a sigh of relief, because with all these agents,
Yeah.
you can think about security can be a nightmare here. So it's great that we have this thing that we are thinking from admin's perspective as well. I really love the registry concept that we have. Is there will be a registry where admins will be able to manage all these MCPs. So that's awesome. Okay, so this is a very interesting question that is coming up from LinkedIn community. So, can we configure skills to our agent force agents? I don't know if this is the right team to discuss that. Like, I know with MCPs are fine, but there are skills that are coming up that is becoming very popular these days, especially for us developers. Right, we are getting used to the skills concept. Where we keep all the skills for agent within MD file. And as a developer, now I'm like spending more time managing these skills than writing code. So I was wondering if you guys have any insight into it.
um,
Yeah, Pragya, go ahead.
Yeah, I can talk through that.
Yeah.
So, agent to agent overall allows for that agent card that I was talking about, and that the
Uh-huh.
main proponent of that agent card is, hey, what are my skills? What are these agents' skills? And
Mhm.
so, today, if you look in Agentforce, the topics and actions that you have associated to an agent, those are really the skills. Those are your
Right,
skills that you can or cannot do. That's the realm of what my scope is as an agent, right? And
right.
so we are leveraging your topics and actions to then be added as part of your agent card to show up as skills on your agent. So if you edit your topics and actions, you will see those as editable. So they're not editable directly, but they're editable indirectly in a way based on your agent's topics and actions. And then eventually, that is something that we plan to do where skills are exposed on AgentExchange as a way to discover different agents of what they can or cannot do, and even from an MCP server point of view. But I'll let more talk to that.
Yeah. Mo, you have any more
No,
insight?
not really that applicable to MCPs specifically.
Yeah, I just want to highlight one point that you made, Pragya, and it's very important for our community to understand. Uh, Really, all the instructions that you are writing within your agent uh, builder, it was called Agent Builder previously. Now it's gonna be the new Agent Force Builder, which is the new builder
Yeah.
that I'm sure everyone has now access to, because we went GA last Friday with the Agent Force Builder. And the way you build agents there is with Agent Script. And if you look at inside that script, basically what you're doing is you have topics and actions, you're writing descriptions, you're writing instructions. That's nothing but skill. That's nothing but skills, as Pragya pointed out. It's the skills that you're building, right? So you build all these agents together, and then you orchestrate with that one agent that that Pragya was talking about. So the high level idea is this, so to help your customers be like really useful in whatever domain that you're building these agents for, it won't be like one single agent, because we know that these agents have context window, they have context limit. So you will basically decide, okay, I want to build an agent for this skill, for different skills. So you'll build agents with different skills, and then you'll orchestrate all of them with like one super agent kind of concept, right? um,
Exactly.
yeah, and then in that process you'll also have tool calls with MCP. You'll have MCP calls with other external services, and then you'll have other agents like as Pragya was talking about. So how do we as a agent force, we want to keep agent force interoperable and also open to all of these, and that's why we are architecting this way. And of course, as Pragya was saying, like we are building that security layer and admin layer too, so everything can be governed for enterprise. So I just want people to understand, like building tools for enterprise is a different, like it's a security first mindset compared to just building products for your consumer based applications. So just
Yeah.
really want to highlight that. Okay, so with that, let's move on to the other questions that we have. Uh, Thinking about agent strategy and use cases with A2A, is there a guidance that we are looking at agents that deep dive into specific topics and actions versus today's agents, which are more broad and answer general questions? So this is coming
Yeah.
from Matthew Hang, and I think Pragya, you can answer this.
Yeah, I think as Mohit was previously talking about, this sort of goes back to this idea that eventually agents will be very specific in what they can or cannot do. Just because it's for a given, even for a given human, too much context is too much to do everything. So there
Mm.
has to be only a single agent that is doing a small task. And then if you think about composability in that way, that you have multiple of these agents that are doing a certain action in a certain way or a certain topic, and they're getting really good at it. It's only certain, they're not generalists, but they're really good focused workers, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so then when you have those workers ready, and I only do a certain task in my enterprise and that's what I do very well, then you need a way to orchestrate across all of these agents. And then that one single agent that is orchestrating across all of these agents becomes your consumer front door facing, customer facing agent, that is just interacting with the customer, getting the request, and then routing to the right agent to do their tasks and their actions. This allows for composability, and it also allows for a more unified customer experience, because the customers doesn't have to shift and understand, hey, which agent do I need to interact with, which agent do I not need to speak to. So taking a step back, I think what Mohit was trying to say was this idea of super agents, and that's the architecture that we are going towards, where we believe that having one orchestrator super agent is very crucial, and we're working towards that. And that allows for decomposability of tasks across multiple agents, so that one agent doesn't need to be a generalist. There needs to be only an orchestrator orchestrating across all of this, but then certain agents can just be focused on their particular domains and be specialized in certain tasks that they do.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, so there are a lot of questions, like people are really looking forward to the pilot
Yeah.
with A2A. Also, people are wondering how to connect Google Edge with A2A.
Yes.
Whether this is all available in the developer sandbox today for people to try. I just want to point out that this is a product that is actively being worked out. And Pragya, any more insights into that?
Yeah, agent to agent communication between Salesforce so just Agentforce, that is an active pilot right now. So that is something that is out there, and we can enable it for your customers, and enable it, and get that going. But talking to third parties in active development, as Mohit was saying, and that should be ready in the coming weeks, and I can share more details about that, Mohit, so that we can share it out with the community.
Yeah, yeah, perfect, perfect. All right, so moving on. So the other questions that we have is, um, does A2A assume that these agents are LLM agents?
Yes. A2A assumes that you are interacting, it's basically LLM based communication, it's not API based. So it's not like a call or just a call to a particular database or a resource to get information back. It's actually unstructured communication between two LLMs.
Got it. Got it. And is that asynchronous or synchronous or both?
So the protocol, the public protocol allows for the whole value is asynchronous. It allows for asynchronous to be available. Agentforce is going to start with synchronous first, and then we're going to move to asynchronous by this year.
Awesome. Awesome. This is a clarification that Matthew is asking. Did I hear it correctly on the last slide that there's more than just text for agent UI? It's going to come up or
Yes.
what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the modality right now is just text-based communication, but we want to expand that. There is an open protocol A2UI which allows for more rich user interfaces and also negotiation between agents to display certain information in a different way. In maybe through have pop-ups, have a complete website UI. So yeah, we're exploring that. That is definitely an active exploration ongoing on our side, but TBD on when that will be ready. But for now, text.
Awesome. Awesome.
Clarify.
And we have Santiago here on LinkedIn. Thank you, Santiago, for joining. The question is, can you give us some use cases for MCP? So what you are seeing more in the field, what our customers are asking for with MCPs, or what are the use cases that you can think of?
Yeah. Yeah, great question. So the use cases are very diverse, but I would say there are mainly two major categories. One are in-house built MCP servers
Mhm.
that customers are essentially wrapping some internal tooling, APIs. You could imagine a risk engine, calculator, or something with an MCP server,
Mhm.
and then adding that as a capability through the MCP connection to their Agentforce agents.
Uh-huh.
That's one pattern that I see quite often. And the other pattern I see is that their customers have multiple different third-party agents or multiple different third-party um, sources of information, data, or capabilities, and so they want to use those third-party MCP servers. Sometimes, it could be a public MCP server like PayPal, could be Notion's MCP server and whatnot, and they
Mhm.
want to connect that into Agentforce Agent. So if you look at it from that lens, if you have an internal kind of system that already is doing some portion of your kind of like your work for you, that could be transformed into an MCP server and then made available for Agentforce to be connected to.
Got it. Got it. All right. So let's talk about some A2A questions that we have. Like, for example, how is the context shared with A2A? Pragya, this is for you.
Yeah. So we are supporting the context information is supported through three layers really. One is just what the query is coming in from the customer and just sharing the last conversation messages with the customer. So a bulk of those messages are shared as part of the API session with the other agent. And
Mhm.
then there's also more structured information, and so there's this concept of agent to agent extensions, which allows for certain data and variables to say that, hey, I want this agent ID and I want certain, maybe a login ID or whatever. So login ID is not the right word, but maybe like a record ID. All of that needs to be shared. So certain variables, those can be shared through using extensions. And then we're also looking, this is more forward looking and future looking, where we are seeing if we can actually have pluggable memory
Mhm.
across between these two agents to say that, hey, I want to use maybe data cloud as a memory source, or a Google Drive to say that this is the source of memory. If there is trust between the two agents, to say use this external source to share context and get updated. That is something that's more forward looking, we're thinking about. But as of right now, context is shared within the session of communication, and conversation history is shared, as well as structured data in terms of variables can be shared.
Got it. Got it. Awesome. Mo, this is question for you. How can I track the performance and ROI of these MCP integrations?
Um, Let me think about that. So when assuming that when you say performance, you're talking about whether they were successful or not
Yeah.
in yeah. So every time an agent is invoking an MCP action,
Uh-huh.
that action has a few different outputs. It could turn out a failure, which is logged in STDM, and you have access to it. It could have the right output, kind of come back to it into the agent, and so that's also logged. So there is a way to measure that success failure rate with regards to just making the call and getting it back.
Mm-hmm.
But also, more importantly, because we are logging very detailed session trace logs in the observability product in Agentforce, you can create custom metrics in the future where you can define what success actually means for this MCP action result,
Mm-hmm.
and then have that as a ratio that you can track on your own observability dashboards for yourself.
Got it.
So yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I think there's no time for maybe one or two more questions. Let's try to get in. So one of the questions is from Sally again. So actions from these external MCPs, which by the way we call tools in MCP and actions in Salesforce, so something to be mindful of. But let's say it's actions from external MCPs. Will those be available in topic actions and reasoning actions in agent script? So just to level set it up, right? So agent script has these two types of actions. We call it topic actions, which are basically meant to select the topics, and then reasoning actions, which are basically tool calls, but they're going to use the reasoning within the reasoning engine. So how are we thinking about MCP support for agent script? First, let's talk about MCP support for agent script. Will agent script work with that MCPs and A2A that you all are working on?
Yep, 100%. Once we go GA, Agent Script is going to be natively supported for MCP actions and connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there are some interesting challenges with that. For example, in Agent Script, you have the power to go ahead and change the output schema of an MCP action that you have connected. Whereas in reality, the output schema is something that is managed by the MCP server. So in order to make sure that we don't break things in agent scripts, we're working on a feature that essentially catches places where output schema is being edited in a script, and notifies the agent builder so that they know that they cannot do that in script. But you do have the full capability of agent script getting the output schemas, assigning variables to them, basically running with it, and orchestrating it using the LLM.
Awesome, awesome. And I think this might be the last question, and then we would have to do some housekeeping here. And then we will have to take all your questions through the Trailblazer community. But don't worry, you always have Trailblazer community. Please, ask all your questions there. And this is a question for you, Pragya, is um, so we already answered about user identity. Maybe you want to answer it more detailed this time, like how is user identity sort of handled in A2A?
Yeah, so user identity is a complicated topic. When we're interacting between agents in within Salesforce orgs, like let's say there's a data cloud DC1 confirmation or system that's built out, user identity can be mapped easily. And one of the ways that we do is that we provide identity resolvers. We have a default identity resolver which is using verified email address across
Mhm.
different customer, different users and different orgs, to
Uh-huh.
say that hey, these two are the same, like Pragya in one org is equal to Pragya in another org, based on a verified email address that I provided in both of them. So
Mhm.
that's one. But there are also custom identity resolvers
Mhm.
that you can write using Apex, to then define additional logic to say, hey, I need resolution to happen in this way. That's for within the Salesforce and Agentforce paradigm. But if you're interacting with a third party, system altogether, like Workday or Box, where the customer identity is very different from Salesforce identity. And at that point, we ask the customer to identify themselves. So really logging in instead of mapping it in the background, because that can be a security hole, it can cause more issues. So we believe that actually asking the end user to log in to that system to give the identity is the best way to proceed forward.
Awesome, awesome. I think we are running out of the time, but I just want everyone to look at our slides here, because we need to complete some of these housekeeping items here. I just want to remind everyone again, we have this community. Please, if we are not able to get to your questions today, or if you come across a question that you thought you would have asked in the show, please use this join the Salesforce developer community link that we have there, and join us. And I just want to remind everyone today that you can always register for our upcoming events. Code Live is definitely another one that is coming right now. We run a lot of Agentforce Now workshops also, hands-on sessions. So make sure that you scan this QR code and then use register for all these upcoming enablement sessions, and future Ask Me Anything sessions that we have for you. Okay, so with that out of our way, I just want to take a moment and thank all our attendees, as well as Pragya and Mo, for taking this valuable hour for our developer community. We really truly appreciate it.
Yeah, great to be
Thank you.
here. Looking forward to the answering all the questions over the coming
Yeah,
months.
and we are actually looking forward to the product from you, and cannot wait to actually try out all of these innovations that you are all bringing to this amazing community. Again, thank you everyone. I will end the stream, and we will see